If you had to decide between using an item only one time or using an item that perhaps takes longer to make but you can use multiple times, what would you choose? This is a debate with renewable energy and non-renewable energy sources in modern day. I'm here to talk about the facts of why renewable energy sources are better overall than that of non-renewable energy, and the difference between an infinite energy source and a limited one. First, I will clearly state exactly what I'm comparing. Next, I will elaborate terms I define as efficient and renewable, explaining where fossil fuels and non-renewable energy sources fall short. Finally, I will give you some real-world scenarios that support my statement. Now that I've told you everything I want to cover, let's start by clearly understanding what I'm comparing in my discussion. First, from my beginning point, I will explain the definition of more efficient, long-lasting renewable energy sources compared to non-renewable energy. To understand a renewable energy source, you must understand what renewable energy is. Renewable energy is how energy is produced through different techniques harnessed from the planet that does not deplete any sources. These sources can be wind, solar, hydro, and geothermal without producing any carbon dioxide emissions. Non-renewable energy sources come from sources that are within the earth that have a limited supply. These sources, which fossil fuels and natural gas falls under, are pulled from the earth and harnessed. However, these sources give off emissions that are damaging to the planet. These sources are limited and will eventually run out if there is continuous use. Since I've explained exactly what I'm comparing, I can now tell you why the earth and its inhabitants benefit far more from these renewable energy sources for the future of the planet. For practicality, in the modern day and age, there are a variety of everyday things that continually run on fossil fuels and natural gas. There has been a system that has been set up that is mainly dependent on the use of non-renewable energy sources. There must be a switch in how power is produced, and the things that utilize the power must be updated to handle this new system. This takes time and effort. However, there are current movements to electric cars and solar energy that are becoming much more impactful. There must be a movement to capitalize on renewable energy sources to make them far more practical in everyday life. This is the only way for it to become widely accepted by all economic classes of people. Economic shift. There would be a large economic shift in the energy sector by having renewable energy become the dominant source in the world. Currently, there are many large corporations that benefit off the continual use of fuel and power, and right now they have a limited number of sources to supply the needs. This long-term outlook is still limited for these companies no matter what. The shift is the amount of jobs that would be created by the construction of new sources of energy. It takes away from the current corporations and now focuses on different companies that are not as dominant but potentially can be in the future. For health, finally a consumer is going to consider their own health when comparing these energy sources. Why would you knowingly pollute the air that you breathe if there's an option that didn't do that? Through solar, wind, or hydropower, all these sources are clean and do not affect the lungs of the people that live on the planet. It is also much better for the environment and natural balance of chemicals on the earth. It does not inhibit or speed up processes on earth that can potentially impact the long-term health of its inhabitants and the generations to come from them. For all the reasons just described, renewable energy sources are the superior energy source, but face much opposition due to the economic difference imbalance it will disrupt. This brings me to my final point. Although renewable energy faces such opposition constantly through both the political sphere and economic sphere, they continue to prove to be the superior alternative in the future for non-renewable energy. There are many ways that renewable energy has the potential to be far more practical in the future for producing energy. Through constant development of new technology, it is completely feasible to argue that a solar panel may be able to produce all the electricity needed for your house. What will improve practicality and bring about a large-scale social change for renewables starts with the development of technology that improves the efficiency of harnessing the output from these natural sources. If this can be achieved, the need for non-renewable energy drops significantly and the practicality of clean energy becomes much higher. This is not a far-fetched theory, but could become reality within the next 15 years. This is what I believe clean energy should work towards, because once it becomes practical, it becomes mainstream for society. Economic shifts. Currently, non-renewable energy companies benefit greatly off of the energy sector within the U.S. I think there's a duty to sometimes put the economic benefit and profit of such corporations in check to move the money from them to other alternative energy companies due to the health of our environment. The amount of jobs that are possible to be produced from these different forms of energy are very large, but at the same time, this reduces non-renewable jobs, which ends up being the trade-off. With better regulation, the health of our planet, resources, and country could be more fixated on a positive and healthier future, while also keeping the economic impact from such still stable in the market. These large corporations have too much impact on too many people and have too much money in the sector, and I believe a shake-up to alternatives benefit the country much more rather than benefiting the companies such as Shell and BP, etc. Because clean energy is free from nature, there's no longer a power bill that would come with using this energy captured by nature. By installing a solar panel, you would then have the cost benefit of each month of a portion of power is completely free due to not paying for the burning of fuels to power your home. In an article written by Taryn Hullopin, she explains just how economically smart it may be to install clean energy for yourself. The investment has a payback period of only 3.5 years. while the other solar panels have a warranty of 10 years and useful life of 25 years, which means you generate free electricity and extra credits for 20 plus years. It is hard to beat. It is both socially responsible and economically profitable. For health, the health impacts from reducing pollution is a statistic that should not be taken for granted. Through the constant use of non-renewables, there is constant pollution going into the atmosphere that affects everyone on the planet. The health of your lungs should not be taken for granted. Clean air should be a right, not something that you are at the mercy of simply because a company wants to make money. There is no argument that clean energy is superior in all health aspects to the environment. No carbon dioxide emissions means the atmosphere also stays around longer and does not put the health of the earth or its creatures above corporate profit. The EPA says it best when describing renewable energy: generating energy that produces no greenhouse gas emissions from fossil fuels and reduces types of air pollution. From another article posted by Harvard, they discuss what they believe is the benefits of our health from clean energy. Generating electricity from low-carbon energy sources and cutting energy demand reduces the need for fossil fuel power generation and decreasing carbon dioxide emission, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen oxides. It is clear that the benefit from reducing these gases is important and should be taken seriously. Now that I have covered all of my points, I will move on to the conclusion. Review of my statement. I am here to talk about the facts of why renewable energy sources are better overall than that of non-renewable energy, and the difference between an infinite energy source and a limited one. I have clearly stated what I was comparing, I elaborated on my terms, and I gave real-world scenarios that supported my statement. As a closing statement, whether you believe non-renewable energy is okay or believe renewable energy isn't that great, the benefits of improving this type of energy are not to be dismissed and should be improved for the benefit of all through the next decades. The repercussions cannot be worse than that of using non-renewable energy, allowing me to say what could be so wrong about wanting to improve the health of our environment and slowing the use of materials that we may not have one day. Thank you.